the G.I. Jive.
Hi, you fellas. This is G.I. Jill with G.I. Jive.
I was called G.I. Jill. There are G.I. Jills all over the world during World War II, and I was proud to be the one inside of Burma, India. The response from the GIs was so good. I would tell them primarily what they had told me I should tell them, which was that all the things that they have been hearing from Tokyo Rose, that was totally erroneous and that we were doing very well. In general, I had to be upbeat and happy and never ever let them know about something that would be depressing to them.
And this is G.I. Jive getting ready to call it a station. Good night.
I'd heard about Williamsburg for a long time, and I thought it would be charming. I hate to say it, but I do remember just having a wonderful time. I had a double major in French and English, and my plan was to go to France and teach English because there wasn't much of anything that anybody could do. We didn't have careers. But that didn't last long because we began to realize that we were going to be in the war. Right after graduation, women realized we had to go to work because the men were all leaving. And it wasn't really patriotic if you were just sitting at home or running around just having dates. I immediately looked for a job that would be helpful in any way.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I wanted to do something that was really worthwhile. I did know a friend who had gone over with the Red Cross and had ended up in France. And I thought, hey, this is great. I could speak French. I'll go over there and drive an ambulance. And really, in my indoctrination, we knew absolutely nothing about where we were going. We were prepared for every single part of the world. We were on a train, and I said, Jane, when we wake up, we will see the Statue of Liberty. And when we woke up, we were seeing cornfields. Bummer.
Yells attack.
Well, all right.
There'll be no turning back.
Well, all right.
Lord, hear my plea. Let me see the enemy. I'll batter that rat till his head gets flatter.
Are you ready?
We had to crisscross the ocean a great deal because we were at war with Japan. On the ship going over, they asked us if we'd come up and introduce the music from time to time, and what they were doing was testing our voices. And I guess mine was a lot better than it is now. They didn't really train me. They just said, this is what we've been doing. We've been chatting about what's happening in the country, and we have been playing records. You know, we had some really good music in those days. And so I was called G.I. Jill. It was half entertainment, half trying very hard not to let those fellows believe anything that Tokyo Rose said about our ships being sunk and about the number of GIs who had been killed.
This morning they are forcing you to attempt the impossible.
Is that Tokyo Rose?
Brothers?
Yeah, I guess so.
The impossible, for it is impossible for you to dislodge our forces on Iwo Jima.
As we were traveling through the unknown, we saw the waters change color. It got darker and darker, and then we saw land. And that's when we landed in Calcutta. There were animal carcasses in the water, there was refuse. It was just filthy. Calcutta was a real shocker. People were lining all the streets, begging for money, and we saw everything. We saw elephantiasis, which is created by a worm. We saw children who had been deliberately blinded so that they could become beggars. And then we saw people who were just dead in the streets. It was really quite a shocking first introduction to that country. There are parts of India that are very beautiful, but it took us a long time before we found it. We had a polio epidemic, and one night a GI came in and said, "My friend is really sick and he wants to know if you'd come over to the hospital and write a letter for his mom." And I said, "I sure will." So and I went over there and I wrote the letter, and he said, "Boy, I'm really sick." And I said, "Well, you know how it is in India. You'll probably feel horrible for a while and then you'll be better." And I gave him a kiss on his forehead, which he just loved. And then the next day he died. And that was the first polio incident, first polio death. We didn't have the vaccine. So I had been exposed. They didn't know what to do with me. I agreed that I shouldn't stop working because that could really throw fright into the whole camps. That did spread, took many lives. I was very lucky I didn't get it. But they were very appreciative of everything, and I have a pile of letters of thanks from GIs that just make your heart glow. They were so appreciative of anything you did for them. During the day in the Red Cross Club, we went to places like famous shrines, anywhere we could find something of interest. They had told us in Washington to take evening gowns, and I probably ruined 4 or 5 evening dresses, dancing in the sweltering heat of the desert. They were thrilled. To hold a gal and dance with her was very special to them. The Red Cross had sent me a letter saying, "You must report to Calcutta to try out for a play with Melvyn Douglas." I was scared I would not do very well and not make it. What we were doing was a play by Noel Coward called Private Lives. We started out in Calcutta in a sort of tented area that held 3,000 men called Monsoon Square Gardens. And we did the play there for about 3 weeks. I really learned what it was like to be a star because there really wasn't anybody else. There was no competition whatsoever. And I actually had flowers in my little portable dressing room. It was very, very glamorous and exciting briefly.
You love me like I love you, send me 50. PDQ, rose are red and violets are pink. I'm gonna get old 50, I don't.
We were having appalling riots in India. The natives were very anxious to get rid of the British, and many times they thought we were British. And so we were recipients of thrown vegetables and rocks. The riots got really bad to the point where they started to set fire to our house in Calcutta. I called the MPs and they came and got us. In my suitcase, there were all my underwear and all my family pictures. I left my jewelry behind. They said, take things that matter.
Get your coat, babe. Leave your worries on the
I returned home to Illinois. The first job I had was the public relations officer for the Red Cross in Pittsfield, and I did radio broadcasts, one strictly Red Cross, one what's happening in Pittsfield kind of program. Sort of missed being busy and doing something that mattered, but I also thought it was time to get married, so I stopped radio when my first baby came along.